If you listen to what Sundar is talking about, you can see how it applies to everything that Google is announcing here at I/O. Photos is going to give you all of your photos in the cloud, and it's going to use Google's computers to help you search them. Android M has this crazy new feature called Now on Tap that can search inside apps and give you suggestions for what you want to do. And even Cardboard is using Google servers to stitch together 360-degree 3D virtual reality video. They're all examples of Google's advancements in machine learning. It gives everyone the power of Google's supercomputers right on their phone. Supercomputers for you or me is great and all, but Google's next step is to bring them to people that haven't had computers at all.
So I've been talking to a bunch of people over the past couple of weeks, and a phrase I'm hearing over and over again is, the next billion. There's a billion people using Android. How do we get the next billion? And it seems like you guys are doing a lot. But what do you think is the most effective? Where are you going to have the most gains?
The entire PC industry reached about 1.7 billion people. We are truly dealing with the first computing platform which is going to touch people at scale. At a core, we want to build products for everyone. And so at a basic level, at a foundational level, both providing computing and making it accessible, which is why we are interested in Android One, we are interested in affordable Chromebooks, and to thinking about connectivity over time, which is why we are doing things like Project Loon.
Project Loon is probably the most obvious example of how Google is trying to reach the next billion. It's floating giant weather balloons over remote regions of the world to provide internet access. And it's this kind of crazy stuff that I find really interesting about Google as a company. It's shown interest in AI, robotics, and even curing death.
And to me, I want Google to strive to push to do that, not just build technology for a certain segments, right? For me, it matters that we drive technology as an equalizing force, as an enabler to everyone around the world.
This is Sundar Pichai. Recently, he's been put in charge of a whole bunch of stuff at Google. Chrome, Android, apps, search. If you use a Google product, chances are he's running it. Why does that matter? Well, Google's kind of a big deal for technology, and what he thinks about technology is going to be what Google thinks of technology. So if we can understand what he believes, we can get a small glimpse into the future of tech. Every year, Google holds a huge developer conference called Google I/O. It's a place for them to let developers know what they're thinking about for the next year. And what Google's thinking about for the next year involves a lot of high-end computer learning.
So this is your first I/O, I think, where you are fully, completely, officially in charge of everything that's getting presented.
Growing up in India, like many of you, I got my first telephone when I was 12. In my case, it turned out to be a rotary phone, so it wasn't that great for selfies, but I still love to call my friends, play with it, and sometimes take it apart. That telephone cemented my fascination with technology. I remember in my parents' house in Chennai reading about the invention of the transistor at Bell Labs. Of course, that initial invention helped found what became known as Silicon Valley, and out of that came companies like Fairchild Semiconductor and Intel, and all the computers and software that we all use today. You can draw a direct line from that invention to the technology that powers your Twitter feed or your WeChat messages today. I remember reading about that and thinking, it's the idea that matters. It didn't matter where you come from or what your background is. One revolutionary idea, one brilliant invention can unleash other entrepreneurs to revolutionize industries in ways you could never predict.
The thing which attracted me to Google and to internet in general is that it's a great equalizer, right? And so to me, I've always been struck by the fact that Google search worked the same if, as long as you had access to computer with connectivity, if you were a rural kid anywhere, or if you were a professor at Stanford or Harvard. And to me, I want Google to strive to push to do that, not just build technology for a certain segments, right? For me, it matters that we drive technology as an equalizing force, as an enabler to everyone around the world. We believe that software is at a stage where software increasingly is playing a more and more critical role in solving things which it didn't before.
Okay.
So to me, when I look at cars, people spend an inordinate amount of time in cars. These are resources which are very poorly utilized. Right now, as we speak, you can look outside and you can see all the cars which are parked.
The cars we rented to get here is just sitting in the parking lot.
That's right. So they get used less than 10%. So we see these problems and we see, okay, can we solve it at scale? And does computing play a part in it? Software and computer science. And while the effort may seem ambitious or crazy, we take a very disciplined approach inside, right?
Okay.
So those are thought through like businesses which we are building. And it's just that we're willing to take a long-term view, but we run them in a very disciplined way. Our research can be longer term, and we do that precisely in research. When we take research projects like Google ATAP or a core research, we never know whether some of them even makes viable business applications, but we want to push the technology at times because you don't know what's possible on the other side.